We actually have a call tonight. Richard, go ahead with your call.
Yes, I was walking into a business, and they have a handicap cut out on the sidewalk for wheelchairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I tripped over the edge of the concrete because there was no markings or painted stripes or anything like that. And I tore my right knee up. I'm going to have surgery on my right knee, and fractured my left hand, and I have to have surgery on my left hand. And I notified the people, and they were just like, well, we can't do anything about it.
Okay, and you said this was a business?
Yes.
Okay. Richard, can you give me a little bit more information? You mentioned that it was the handicap ramp, which I'd normally associate that with being close to a handicap parking space, but I'm guessing it's just a simple ramp that led up from the parking lot up to a sidewalk that would go around the business. What part did you trip over?
Where they got the sidewalk cut out for a wheelchair to go up, I tripped over the front corner of the sidewalk because I couldn't see it.
Okay. Was there a reason you couldn't see it? Was it painted the same color? Did it kind of blend in with everything around it? Or tell me a little bit more about that.
It blended in with the parking lot because there's no markings, no painted lines or anything.
Okay. Okay. Richard, like the email question we just had, the reason I was asking you those questions is because anytime you're talking about a premise case, and we talk about premises liability, injuries that occur on somebody's property, facts are very important. You mentioned that you tripped over this cutout. You mentioned how it blended in with the color of the parking lot. Normally if you're in other businesses and, just think about where you would normally go during the normal course of your day, you go to the grocery store, you see there's lines, there's yellow markings, there's stripes, there's all sorts of things, and those are designed to draw people's attention to those changes in elevation. Now, the courts in Florida have said that a simple change in elevation in and of itself is not a dangerous condition. However, in your situation, there may very well be liability. And
right.
Ted,
and there's a lot of difference in the change in elevation in a private residence versus a public business where you have, and we've had cases before where the situation is maybe not dangerous in and of itself, but the way it is visually depicted so that you can't see it. The change in elevation is obscured by the way it blends together. I know we see that a lot of times in steps and how that works when they paint them all the same color. So there is a situation there that we potentially would have to look into, but a lot of it will come down into how big is the height differential, how much does it blend together, and that would all need to be looked at and ascertained, and we'd want to make sure as well, Richard, if there was any video footage of this, if it happened in front of a business, there's a good likelihood that they have surveillance footage of it, so we'd want to capture that so we'd make sure and have a clear and accurate depiction of what actually happened. But it's definitely something worth pursuing and worth looking into, so definitely give us a call and when we can reach out to you tomorrow to make sure we get all the details we need so that we can make sure that it's looked into properly.
Yeah, Ted, another thing he mentioned in there about how it blended in, we normally think about these areas being properly marked, and that's for a reason.
Big yellow paint.
That's for a reason. It's to provide that visual cue that, hey, there's something going on here. One thing that we'll probably also be looking at is whether or not, if this was just a basic cutout, was it ADA compliant?
Right.
Did it comply with local and state building codes to have it done the way it was done? I mean, usually when I see these types of ramps, I mean, they are. Because most contractors and builders that build these types of areas know what the codes are. But if this was like a makeshift type of a ramp,
right.
You could very well be dealing with a code violation, which actually in Florida can make a pretty big difference, because if you have a violation of any applicable code, that is considered prima facie evidence of negligence in and of itself. Now, it's a rebuttable presumption, but it's something that you can point out to the court and say, look, I tripped over this and there's a code violation, versus I tripped over this and I just didn't see it. Factually, you still tripped, you still fell, you still hurt yourself, but just those little bitty nuances there could make a big difference. Especially these days, Ted.
I was going to say, and in the world of a trip and fall case in Florida, historically we have had what's called pure comparative fault, which means as long as the tortfeasor, i.e. the person that you are seeking to collect against, has some sort of culpability in the accident, even if you bore a large percentage of responsibility, even up to 99%. If they were only 1% at fault, you could still recover for that 1%. Unfortunately, our legislature has decided to change the course after all these years, and now if you are 50% or more, or just over 50% responsible for the accident, and you bear that much responsibility, you're going to be completely precluded from recovering anything. So that is a large change in Florida law that will go on the books here effective now. And so it's going to really change the way Florida citizens are allowed to recover for various types of injuries in the negligence realm.
Yeah. So Richard, again, we'll reach out, let us know if we can do anything to help you out. That's exactly the type of claims that we handle. It's very unfortunate that this happened to you, but if there's anything we can do to help you out, we'll certainly do that.